The second thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to keep on the front burner, our babies and milk. And certainly it's hitting everyone. I want to just correct. I know we read some articles where it's only low-income women when a baby comes in this world. So I've seen, I haven't had a baby myself, but so I've seen when they come into the world, they don't know if they're coming in to be poor. They don't know if they're coming in to being disadvantaged. They all come in screaming, probably said, oh, Lord, in the world, it was a lot nicer in mommy's stomach. And now I got to get out here to the world. But when they come out, they're hungry. They want something to eat. And I want to make clear that certainly low-income mothers are affected, but non-low-income mothers are affected, because when you have a supply issue and that baby is hungry and there's no supply, that's an issue. And I know last week we had talked about, I know JFS said we got a few calls, we're doing a few. I like us to, as an administrator, I like us to have a proactive plan that could be on our website. I also see this as an emergency management issue, because if we run out of food for babies and they begin to, die because of their malnutrition, then we have other health issues or even a vitality issue. We have been big in fighting against infant mortality. And we had kind of seen that as, don't put the baby in the crib and don't put the baby on top of you and all of that. And we've made some strides in that. But now we got another layer. A baby needs something to eat, and that can lead to infant mortality. So I want to put this on the books, Mr. Administrator, as part of our infant mortality, our anti-infant mortality program, that not only we have those other components, we have other people that we fund for that, but I want to add this thing about food supply for infants. I'd like for us to get a hotline number that people could call, and I'd like for our administration to bring together Jobs and Family Services along with a Free Store Food Bank, along with Children's Hospital, along with our suppliers, Kroger's, et cetera, and have a somewhat strike force task force so that we can get an understanding on what is the supply in Hamilton County, who has the food. You'll be able to go on our website and find out, well, this Kroger doesn't have any, but this one does. Maybe Kroger don't have it, maybe Walgreens got it. We need to have a map in Hamilton County where we're helping each other find where is the supply. And then I also want to look at the Free Store Food Bank to see if there's supplies there that could be distributed and helpful. But I think we need to have that as quickly as possible on our website and part of our anti-infant mortality plan, because that's another component. And this should be available for whether you're on the SNAP program or whether you're not on the SNAP program. Your only criteria is you got a baby that needs something to eat. And we're able to identify where that is. So it would be great if Hamilton County was out. I think we probably might be the only county to do it, where we're out front showing where the supply is, who has some supply, working on having, some supply. And I'd like to put it on the emergency management list in the future, because now we know if we ever run into this again, we've got just like we've got the mask and the gloves and those things, we've got something like this in our, we don't call it a pantry, but we have a supply area for, days like this that would be emergency. I see this as a major state of emergency. So it'd be great for us as a board to be able to announce that on our website, a phone number and something that tracks where the food is, who has food, as we are still working to, hopefully as Congress and others are helping to resolve this issue. Other thing I wanted to say is that the Senior Citizen Fund that we announced, I'm very excited about it, the $1 million. I understand some are calling, some don't know about it still. I ran into some senior citizens the other day, and I want to give a shout out. The new Ford restaurant out in Norwood is really, really nice, actually. And it was really cool. It's a new restaurant, only a few locations in the country. And on their menu, they've got even like items named after the mayor and the, president of their city council. And then they've got, I think Joe Burrow's on there again too. He's on there, but it's really cool. People from the community are on the menu, but it's a really cool thing with the Ford cars, and you go in, it's just a cool atmosphere. So I do want to give a shout out to them. But anyway, I ran into a senior citizen couple, and they were asking, is there any help for seniors? And I was able to give them the hotline number. So I just want to reiterate to senior citizens that are out there, the hotline number is 743-9000. You got to put 513 in front of it now, 513-743-9000 for help with utilities and help with any repairs, boilers, heaters, but it's getting hot. So people need help with the air condition. But they can call that number, and it's we got a senior citizen hotline number. So wanted to just reiterate that. And they were happy when I gave them the number to know that we had something like that specifically and directly for senior citizens. So I just wanted to repeat that. And then my last piece is, even though I have torn my meniscus in my knee, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, for many, many years, many people know my favorite pastime is roller skating. And I'm a diehard roller skater. I've skated all over the country in different places. And one of the things that I saw for many years, different areas have an outdoor major facilities. Detroit has a great outdoor facility. In fact, this weekend, they have a huge skating roller soul skate event, and people are coming from all over the world for it. I won't be able to join them this year. And then in New York this year, Usher and some other celebrities, Mary J. Blige, they helped open up a skating facility at 30 Rock. And I can't wait to, participate in that. And it's all over the social media. And one of the things that when I was on city council, I was really trying to get a roller skating facility built inside of Cincinnati. I ran out of time to name it after Mr. Nelson, who was the first African-American to ever own a roller skating rink down and over the Rhine on the second floor. And I wanted to get it together before he passed. Unfortunately, he passed. I ran out of time. But I'm very happy that we will have an outdoor mobile roller skating rink. And it's opening on Friday. And I hate that my knee is torn, so I don't know. I'm still trying to ask my trainer, can I please do a couple moves? But she knows that if I put my skates on, I might want to do the splits, and that would not be good. But this is open to the public. It's called the Frisch's Mobile Skating Rink that 3CDC is putting right out in front of Court Street, right down from where we are now. I saw them putting it down as I was coming in. But the grand opening will be tomorrow. And I'm happy to be a part of that grand opening, to see this vision come to reality, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you want to be the first skates to hit that floor, they are only charging $2 to participate. They're not taking cash, I'm told, so I guess it's only card. And rental skates are $5. And I am personally sponsoring the first 50 people to come down for free. I'm always trying to get more people to skate. And I want to say that this has gotten out, and skaters from all over Ohio are excited about it and are trying to come down to participate. So New York did it, Detroit did it, but now we're going to show them how Cincinnati and Hamilton County does it. So excited about that. And I know, Madam President, you've been a supporter too about trying to get roller skating going as well. So I'm very, very excited, and I will be there. Nothing can hold me back. And who knows, if my trainer approves, I might be able to put on the 8 wheels for like 30 seconds. So hope to see everybody down at the skating rink, and it'll be open all weekend, but the grand opening, I'm happy to be hosting tomorrow, 4 p.m. To 8 p.m. right here on Court Street. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Just a couple comments as you talked about the seriousness of the emergency of the lack of formula. Right after the meeting, when we left, I called Nick, our EMA director, and he is actively looking at supplies for this area. There is no map available, as you indicated. That would be really good to have, but it's just really hard to find here, but he's working as we speak on that issue. And as you brought up about babies and babies and babies, it was extremely hard for me because my great nephew, he's deceased 2 weeks ago, 12 pounds, 13 ounces came out, was delivered deceased. So we will be having his memorial tomorrow. So if you could just pray for our family, that would be great. Commissioner Dreehouse.
Thank you, Madam President. I am sorry for your loss. And speaking of loss, I too want to comment on the tragic shooting in Texas, the tragic shooting in New York, the tragic shooting in so many other places in this country. The CDC has said that since 2020, firearms is the leading cause of death for children in this country. Firearms is the leading cause of death for children in this country since 2020. It's an astounding statistic and very sobering. And I appreciate the comments related to preparedness and to mental health, but I think from my perspective, and I too sat in the legislature when all the gun laws started coming through, and the lack of common sense gun laws in this state and in this country is astounding and part of the problem. And we are heading in the wrong direction in the state of Ohio when we relax background checks, when we relax places where people can carry guns and bars, and it's just, we're heading in the wrong direction. And I think I agree that action is where we need to be and do what we can. We are so limited as county commissioners as to how we can advocate in this space. However, there is an event coming up, and I just want to call it out. This event was scheduled before the most recent shooting, but it's being hosted by Moms Demand Action, I think a group that we're all familiar with. June 4th, they're having there's a national day of gun awareness. It's going to be more than gun awareness, I'm afraid, on this particular occasion. But on June 4th, 10 to noon on Fountain Square, there will be a rally about gun violence in this country. And so I just want to shout it out and thank Moms Demand Action, Michelle Mueller in particular, for all the work that they've been doing over, I don't know how many years, to try to raise awareness about how we need to have common sense gun laws in this country. And we need to advocate in the state of Ohio for the same. So beyond that, I just want to note a couple other things. As we all know, the TLRC, the Tax Levy Review Committee, has been holding meetings over the last few days about the 3 levies that are on the ballot this year, those being seniors, mental health, and indigent care. And the consultants have come in and given them information related to the recommendations that they will make to this board related to the levies. And I just want to thank the members at CLRC for the work that they do. It's a volunteer group. They are very smart. It's very diverse. They have spent a lot of time understanding these really complicated issues that impact the levies and the broader community. And I just want to thank them for all that they do and look forward to those recommendations coming forward to the board, I think in about a month or so. Also wanted to say I had attended a meeting earlier today. The Cincinnati Sustainability Committee is meeting, and we're going, Chris Harding from my office also went, to try to get some ideas as to how the county can start to think through sustainability and green initiatives, electric vehicles being one of them. What we've done with some of our facilities, our buildings for another, but there are many, many more things that we can do to engage the community and the county administration and ourselves in this space where we can be more green and sustainable as a county and start to create some policies around that. So trying to learn a little bit from what they're a little ahead of us on this, but learning from Mika Owens and others that were in the room talking about how the city is trying to become more sustainable. And then lastly, on a lighter note, it's Kevin Ty's birthday today. My chief of staff is 31. I know you don't mind me saying how old you are, Kevin. He's still younger than my kids, which freaks me out just a little bit. But happy birthday, Kevin. Happy 31. He's newly a father of 2. So you do good work. You've done good work already for the county, and we're celebrating you today, Kevin. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday. And for the gun rally, they want you to wear orange. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Wear orange if you come. Okay. I'm going to move to our administrator. Jeff, as you give your comments, you might want to talk about FIFA. We got some requests from them because they are making a final decision June the 16th on who they're going to choose to be part of this World Cup experience. So Jeff.
Thanks, Madam President. I can certainly do that. I was going to plan to provide the board with some more robust information on FIFA next week, but I can certainly give you some information during my comments today as well. At a higher level. So thank you. Be happy to do that. And happy birthday, Kevin. I didn't know I was only 5 years older than you. So that's great. So first of all, just in terms of some comments, and I will touch base with EMA Director Crosley as well to the comments on schools and organizations and things in the wake of shootings. In the past, we have had in cooperation with the Sheriff's Office and what used to be known as the Fusion Center and EMA, there was a program that existed for where schools and other civic organizations could reach out and go through a process by which we called it target hardening, where there would be almost a consultant study that would be done as to how those, whether it's a school or an organization, could enhance their protections against this type of thing. I don't know that that's continuing to occur, so I'm happy to reach out, talk to Nick some more, and talk with the Sheriff's Office and see how we can pull that back together as a more comprehensive, proactive program. On the infant formula issue, I'll do some follow-up for the board on this as well. I do know that JFS does have this as you go onto their website, and it is the first thing that you find are resources on the infant formula issue. And I know they are touching base routinely with the Free Store and Children's Hospital and others as well. So I'll follow up with Director Patton on that topic as well and see if there's other things we can be doing in line with what the board had discussed here today to be actively and proactively tracking that issue and being as much of service as we can be to our local residents on that. There was a comment on the senior program as well. I did just want to mention that I think Vice President Reese mentioned the hotline, the 743-9000. We did receive our first report very recently on the utilization. It's being very well utilized. I think there were 149 utility credits applied, 125 of those through Duke, 24 through Waterworks, and 40 home repairs. So of the total, I think around $106,000 spent to date on the program. So we're off and running in a significant way on that. President Summer Dumas, before I get to the comments on some remarks on FIFA, I also just wanted to give a brief kudos out to Mike Inman and the building inspection staff. Some of the board may have been copied on this, but about a week or so ago, there was an email that came in about a building that was vacant and in disrepair and posing a safety hazard. And the individual was not sure who in the community to go to. And I think within 24 hours, the building inspection department had inspectors out there and got orders issued to either have the building immediately repaired or raised. So again, we had building safety week just about a month ago, I think, in here, and we had folks in here and just wanted to, again, highlight the great work that they do for the county and say congratulations to everyone from James Noyes as the director to Mike Inman, who's on our building inspection staff and the individuals that were involved there. So with that, Madam President, you asked about FIFA, and yes, you're correct that, and I think it's been in the news and in the newspaper, that FIFA plans to make an announcement on June 16th, where I believe they are planning to announce host cities at that point for FIFA. Cincinnati, Hamilton County has been a candidate to be a host city since this process started. I think from the county's perspective, the main issues associated with being a host city involve ultimately the use of Paul Brown Stadium. We know that there are likely some stadium modifications that will be necessary in order for the stadium to fully host the World Cup in accordance with FIFA specs. And I can provide a fuller, more detailed breakdown of this, Madam President, next week to the board. But in general, those upgrades would involve a FIFA specification quality field or pitch. There would have to most likely be a grass field. There would also have to be some work done in the corners. As we've discussed before, Paul Brown Stadium was actually constructed with the forethought to be able to provide for soccer. So the corners actually remove out of the stadium, those aluminum seats. There would still need to be a bit more work, concrete work done in the corners in order to facilitate the field specifications. And then we understand that there are also some upgrades and enhancements that FIFA would be looking for throughout the stadium, and things like suites and concession areas and concourses, technology. Our approach on those latter type of improvements largely would be and what we have communicated on that would be that that we would do those things to the degree that they were in the context of the master plan that the board has been briefed on, and also in the context of our annual capital improvement program, which we have an annual CIP of approximately $5 million annually. So we would work with the team to figure out, with the Bengals, to figure out how those FIFA desired improvements would be integrated into that. So we're continuing to also talk with the team about how FIFA, assuming we're selected, about how FIFA World Cup in 2026 would impact the team itself. We want to be, as landlord to the team, we want to make sure that we're on the same page and that we communicate that to FIFA in terms of how any concerns that the team would have related to operations. And we've been working as partners with the team on that. So again, we're still working through some of the final details. I'm happy to report back more next week, Madam President, including on the results of, I know that the CBC is working on a economic impact analysis to better understand, as the board has asked for, the overall return to the community on the World Cup. So I'm happy to include that in my report back to the board next week on this. But that's a high level overview of where we are. Happy to answer any questions on any of my comments. I'm not certain that I have a buy leave today. I think we are without buy leave, so that would conclude my comments.
Okay, thank you. And as you mentioned, Jeff, about the final numbers for revenue for the county, do you have a general number of what we're anticipating as it relates to Hamilton County, what we may be able to recoup from this going on?
So specifically, I'll know more when we see the results of the economic impact analysis. I don't have a specific feedback on tax revenue and things of that nature, but I know that from a broader economic impact statement, while I don't have a final number, I know that we've heard about like the All-Star game, it being the impact being like 80 to 90 million. And my understanding is that we're talking multiples of that. So again, more information to come, but I'll get it to the board as soon as I have it. I don't have anything formal on that at this point.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Vice President Reese?
Yes, thank you. So on Tuesday, I guess there'll be a more formalized presentation. One of the things I have been asking for some time was the bid package, because that really lists, whenever you're trying to get a sporting event or a convention, these are the things you must do in order to even qualify. And I know we got I did finally get a memo, but it didn't have the specifics. And my understanding, Mr. Ludo, from the conversation, you will have to sign off on some specifics that we would agree to do. It won't be a memo, but it will be specific things like, convention hotel, which we saw was about 368 million. We'd have to sign off on AstroTurf. We have down, but we got to take that up and put grass, and that's a cost. And then we'll have to, hopefully on Tuesday, you'll be able to identify those things listed with a cost next to it to the taxpayers. We are not necessarily on the host committee, which I'm confused about because it's hosted in our stadium and we're not on the host. We're not part of the host committee. We're part of the finance committee. We're financing it. But one of the things I would like to see, if that's the case, we're taking up AstroTurf, we got to put down grass. We're removing seats, reducing the size of Paul Brown Stadium. Those corners, when we talk about corners, we're talking about seats coming out, reducing the size. And then I guess you'll tell us a plan or a cost, do those corners come back in? And is that a additional cost? You indicated an impact, and I'm anxious to see the economic impact. But the part of that study that I'm only concerned about is the part in Hamilton County. I understand that Kentucky will benefit if we were to have this. I'd like to know what is Kentucky's, how much they got to put in, because if not, they got the better end of the stick because they don't have to tear AstroTurf and put grass down. They don't have to take corners out of a stadium and they don't have to bear the costs, but they're bearing some of the benefit. So I would just ask on Tuesday to put in what is, and usually when they do that economic, they look at it from a tri-state perspective. I'm only concerned about a Hamilton County perspective. The other thing you mentioned about Major League Baseball, my understanding was the All-Star game had a projected, we always have projected, we never hit those numbers, but they had a projected economic impact. If I'm not mistaken, that number never happened, or if it did, I'd like to know what was the final result of the number. Usually these projections, we over project. The other thing is, I like to, on Tuesday, be able to answer the question about these tax-free zones, because I really want to have the World Cup. The only question I have is who's paying for it? And then my next question is, if we can't make money off of these tax-free zones, and a lot of places they've been before, they've required tax-free zones. Income tax-free zones, some sales tax-free zones. They want to control concessions. So everything that we can make some money on back to the taxpayers, it seems like World Cup wants to kind of gobble it up. Maybe that has changed and you can answer that on Tuesday, but that's one of the things that I'd like to see. What do we get besides public relations? Because that's a pretty expensive price for public relations. What kind of money, because I want to bring more money in so we can reduce the cost on the people that actually live here. If we could bring money in and reduce the cost, then that's kind of a good business model. And then lastly, you indicated that the Bengals would have to go through this document, and there's some agreements because in their contract, it has something in there about professional soccer. In their contract, it has something in there about concessions. And is that going to be additional cost? I'm sure they will probably worry about reducing the size of seating because they do season ticket holders, and I'm sure they would want those seats coming back in. So just like to hear that on Tuesday. And from a big picture standpoint, my concern is we've got convention district that just proposed $500 million between the hotel and 100 million extra for convention center. That's almost $500 million. We got a 200-page document, and that's not the final document of what the needs would be to enhance Paul Brown Stadium. And then we've got a lease that's getting ready to end with the Bengals, who's a tenant. I'm just, there's a lot of $500 million things going on. So I just want to make sure that our number one priority obviously is the facility that we already own. And then looking at what are the financial demands for us to get the World Cup. Most people thought the World Cup was going to be at FC Stadium. I run into people all the time say, oh, I thought it was going to be an FC Stadium. It is not an FC Stadium. It's not big enough. It has to be in Paul Brown Stadium. Now we got to do a lot of tearing up. So just want to make sure that there's synergies, and what would we be able to realistically get back in the coffers that we could direct those dollars to other things that we need in the county. So I'm excited to hear the list of what we have to have along with the cost, and then how we're going to fund those things in your presentation Tuesday. I understand your presentation Tuesday, but you have to have an answer to them by May 31st, right? We'd have to make an agreement to these, whatever that list that you're presenting Tuesday. Is that correct?
Well, we know that FIFA is looking to make an announcement on the 16th. So I would think that in terms of our role in this, we would want to review all of this next week. So at least by the end of the week, we would be able to go back to FIFA. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, that'd be June. I'm sorry, not May 31st. That would be the first week of June that we have to. Okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. To now, we got a better understanding what will be needed financially, who will be paying for it, private money versus the public money. And certainly I'm erring on most. I hope the private side is putting in a lot more to help us get this deal done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yeah, I too am looking forward to a longer and more robust conversation on Tuesday. One thing I'm hoping that you can bring forward at that time, as we talk about FIFA in the different host cities, plural, I don't have a very good understanding of what that means by way of if you're not the primary host, then what does a secondary host city do? And, because I think that helps us better understand the ROI on whatever kind of investment we need to make related to the income that would be generated, depending on where we sit in the stack. So if you could, at least for my assistance, help me better understand what that group of cities does, what that looks like. And so as we try to pay attention to who gets these awards, what does that really mean to Hamilton County? So that's the one thing I'm hoping you can provide on Tuesday. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff, as you give a more detailed summary, as you said on Tuesday, I'm sure that staff will look at every criteria that we're being asked and do a cost benefit analysis as it relates to the county. Is it good for the county? And then why is it good? Not rather than, but giving us the details, but also cost benefit analysis of each criteria. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm happy to do this on Tuesday. I heard a couple of thoughts about doing this on Tuesday. Happy to do it on Tuesday. And yeah, we will certainly do our best to break down the costs and the potential and the benefits as well. So to your question, yes.
Yeah, because are you indicating you may need more time to do that, or no?
Oh, no, Madam President, no. I think I initially indicated happy to report back to the board next week, and then I heard a couple of folks ask for it during Tuesday, and I'm happy to do that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we will move forward for our regular agenda. Item number 1, Commissioner Dreehouse, did you want to lead that discussion?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So we have been doing this resolution since 2019. Do want to give a shout out to Nate Simon, my previous aide, who was the one that said, do we do this in Hamilton County? And I said, well, if we don't, we should. And so that's kind of what generated the interest in doing this resolution. So the title of the resolution is Directing County Facilities to Fly Rainbow Flags at County Buildings, because we have more than one, in honor of LGBTQ Pride Month and celebrating the contributions of the LGBTQ community in Hamilton County. And so without reading the resolution, I think the idea here, and it always has been, to celebrate the diversity in our community, celebrate all the people that add benefit to all of the things that we do throughout the community, and especially the LGBTQ community, who has just contributed greatly. And this is a recognition of that benefit and a celebration really. And because from my vantage point, it is not enough to tolerate people. It's better to celebrate people. And so that's what we're doing here with the resolution. And as an indication of that, as a sign of that, we will be flying the rainbow flags above the county facilities during Pride. June is Pride Month. I should have started with that. June is Pride Month. And so will be celebrations throughout the county. The big parade will happen towards the end of the month. And this resolution, there's no one here to accept it today because this resolution will be presented at the big parade, and that there's a big festival afterwards. And so it'll be presented as part of the county celebrating Pride Month at that festivity. So that's what the resolution does. And I appreciate the support of the other offices. Jack, I appreciate you coming in and testifying in favor of the resolution. Love the idea of the city pride organization. Wondering if we ought not have a county pride organization. So I'm very curious about that. I don't know if we've ever thought about that before, but it's certainly, again, just another signal to people that we in Hamilton County want to be a welcoming community. And that is one of the ways we show not only our welcoming nature, but also the pride we have in the LGBTQ community. So with that, Madam President, I offer the resolution for approval by the commission.
Okay. Did you have any comments? Okay, all righty. And if you'd like to make the motion.
Should we make a motion? Sure.
Yeah, I would just like to say,
Sure.
Starting in 2019, we as a board started to celebrate all people. And that's why you'll see all this coming forward. So this is great that it didn't happen before, but it's happening now. So if you'd like to make the motion.
So I will move that we approve of the resolution directing county facilities to fly rainbow flags at county buildings and honor the LGBTQ Pride Month and celebrating the contributions of the LGBTQ community in Hamilton County.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes,
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Next item of business is item 2, MSD.
Sorry, Madam President.
Sure.
Watch this come up. What, tell me again a day, when will are we having no, the flag going up. Will we have something similar to the city?
The flags will go up beginning of June. We have not had a flags raising ceremony for that, but it's something that we might want to consider. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
We've done it for Juneteenth,
Right.
but we have not done it for Pride. But yeah, well, we'll start working on that. Thank you. Thanks for the idea.
Your comment, yeah. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Item number 2, well, MSD, let me start by introducing myself. I'm sorry, Lauren DeGarcia with MSD. We have 2 items on the board's agenda this afternoon.
Say that 3 times, your name.
My name,
Yeah, no. Did you say it again?
DeGarcia.
Yeah, awesome.
I think
Yeah.
even I would start to screw it up
Yeah,
at 3, yeah.
okay.
Moving on with item number 2, this item is to confirm the final revised assessments of 13 completed local and lateral sewer assessment projects against the 157 benefited parcels. As an overview, assessment sewers are projects that entail the construction of a local sewer and/or sewer laterals or building sewers to serve individual properties. A portion of the project costs are assessed to the property owners that are benefited by the project, meaning that they now have public sanitary sewer service available. Generally, these are properties that were previously served by on-site systems, septic systems, or similar. These projects can be initiated by petition of a benefited owner or owners, or by order of the applicable Board of Health or Ohio EPA, but typically it is by petition. All of the projects included in this final assessment were supported by a majority, if not 100% of the benefited parcels. The assessment process is defined by Ohio law and for MSD further defined by its rules and regulations. This legislative item before you today is the final legislative step of that process. These projects have all been designed, they've been through any necessary public hearings, and they have been constructed and completed. This final step is to assess a portion of the project cost to the benefited property owners, and per MSD rules and regulations as adopted by the board, the amount assessed may not exceed $12,000 per property. Since the total project costs well exceed the total maximum amount that they may be assessed, the balance of the project costs are paid with MSD funds. So most of these 157 benefited parcels will be assessed $12,000. There are 4 that qualified for a home sewage treatment system reimbursement credit as determined by the Board of Health, and those properties will be assessed $8,400. And to provide a summary of the total project financials, The appropriated total amount based on the estimated project cost of these 13 projects was approximately 8.9 million. The total final or actual costs was approximately 7.9 million. So MSD spent approximately $1 million less than was appropriated for these projects. And of that 7.9 million total costs, about 1.9 million or 24% will be assessed across the 157 benefited parcels. And MSD will pay for just over 6 million or 76% of those final costs. In terms of next steps, if this legislation is adopted, MSD will issue invoices to the benefited property owners for the assessed amount. We've already issued early warning letters in addition to the communications that we've had over the course of these projects with the property owners. So that invoice should not come as a surprise. They will have 30 days to pay all or part of the amount. That is the time period that's set by statute. So the deadline, if adopted today, would be Monday, June 27th at 4 p.m. After that, any unpaid portion of the cert will be certified to the county auditor and must be paid through their property taxes over a 20-year term of 40 biannual payments, possibly to include interest and fees. Those unpaid amounts have to be certified to the auditor by September 12th of this year. That's also mandated by statute, which is why we recommended this date for adoption to allow for the 30-day collection period, as well as the county's reimbursement bond activities, all to be wrapped up and completed by that September deadline. So with that, we will take any questions. Jack Rennekamp is here to assist if the board has any questions.
Thank you so much. You answered mine. I was thinking about the payment plan and options that are available to the residents. So you answered that for me. I'll pass it over to Vice President Reese. Mhm. Okay. All right. Thank you. At that point, I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 2.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 3, this is a request to appropriate $2,287,000 in additional construction funding for the CSO 513 sewer separation project, which is a consent decree project included in MSD's wet weather improvement plan or WIP, and is part of the bridge projects between the phase 1 and future consent decree phases as negotiated with the US EPA, Ohio EPA, and or Senco. This project will separate stormwater from the combined sewers that currently flow to combined sewer outfall or CSO 513 by redirecting stormwater directly to both Cooper and Mill Creeks through new dedicated storm sewers, thus reducing combined sewer overflows at CSO 513 in compliance with consent decree requirements. The board authorized construction and appropriated a total of $5.4 million in construction funding in late 2021. MSD received 3 bids for this project in early 2022. All 3 of the bids were between 20 and 60% over the engineer's estimated cost of $5.4 million. A construction contract cannot be awarded under Ohio law if the bids exceed the engineer's estimate by more than 10%. So at this point, MSD has revised the project estimate to accommodate this market reality as informed by the bids received and is requesting additional funding. If approved today, MSD will rebid the project as soon as possible. It's anticipated to be advertised next week. The increase in the estimated costs are based primarily on the following factors, again, as informed by the bids MSD previously received. Inflation increased by 3.2%. For somewhat obvious reasons, costs continue to rise. Fuel increased by 28 to 53%. The cost of fuel has both direct and indirect effects. Rising prices make equipment more expensive to operate and also make it more costly to manufacture and deliver the materials needed for this project. Pipe costs increased by 30%. Available information indicates limited supply and ripple effects of rising fuel prices. We're seeing bids that are inflated to offset the contractor's risk of potential price increases between when the bids are placed and when construction begins and those products are ordered. Fill, this was an increase of $640,000 for a change to use controlled low strength material or CLSM rather than native soils as backfill. We believe this change will mitigate risks of using native soils as backfill like trench collapse and ground subsidence and potential related costs in excess of this increase to the estimate. And lastly, there were increases to soft cost contingencies of 7%, as well as contractor overhead and profit 7%. And I have Matt Spadari with me today from MSD Engineering to help with any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. We certainly have to stay on top of these inflation prices. We understand them, but we have to be able to regulate them ourselves from the board and administration. So those are some big increases. Vice President Reese.
No questions.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Thank you for the presentation. So two things. One is, you noted that this is a bridge project. Can you provide the board with a status report on the bridge projects, just generally speaking, what they were and, what was intended and the status of those projects at your earliest convenience, hopefully within a week or two.
Okay.
Secondarily, because of what you were seeing related to the increase in cost, and we're seeing it everywhere, and everything that we hear about and everything that we do. Is there any internal conversation at MSD about accelerating any of the projects to try to get ahead of some of the cost increases?
Matt, did you want to take that?
Good afternoon, Matt Spadari, MSD. We are continuing to progress with our projects, and like you've indicated, I'm sure like you're seeing with other county agencies and departments, that there's some uncertainty out there and costs continue to rise. So we are trying to push them out. As far as accelerating them, we're just continuing to try to push them as much as we can to get them out and keep our work moving with projects that were identified in our annual CIP.
Okay. Okay. I just wonder, the bridge projects were approved a number of years ago. So that's why I'm asking for the status report. I would be curious to know if we're getting to the end, I hope, of the bridge projects. And if we can't, as I said, accelerate some of the work on some of the projects that have been in the hopper for a while.
Correct. I'll give you an informal presentation, I guess, on the bridge, but there are 3 projects remaining, and all of them have gone out to bid. Excuse me, 2 of the 3 have gone out to bid. One was awarded, and I believe it's going to the contractor received their notice to proceed next month in June. CSO 513 is one that we're here talking about. We intend to rebid that next week upon, if this request is approved today. And then there's a 3rd project that should advertise later this summer or sometime this summer.
Okay.
For
Thank you.
the bridge projects.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And when I met with Jeff during our regular meeting, I indicated that we'd like to see Diana Christie. We haven't seen her in a while. So in the next couple of weeks, she's going to come in with a summary of where we are as far as our projects. So,
Madam President,
yes,
can I ask that we also then get an update if MSD is going to come in related to the impervious surface fee conversations that we've had and kind of where we're headed with that?
Certainly.
Yes, we're actively working on a communication to get back to the commissioners to further that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 3.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move forward on our consent agenda items. Items 4 through 18. I normally give somewhat of a summary, but I would just ask if anyone has any concerns about any of the items that are listed. Vice President Reese.
Not necessarily concerns, but I do have a couple comments. Oops, here. Item number. Okay, so item number 5. Item number 5 is a contract with used to be HCDC, now Alloy. And I was just trying to figure out on here, maybe I didn't see it. Oh, I see it here. Just wanted to figure out, is this just the economic development or is this also the small business office?
Madam President, Madam Vice President, this would include the scope for the small business office as well. So the contract that's before you today would include alloy development companies work on behalf of the county to implement business expansion and retention programming, all the incentive programs that they do, whether it's enterprise zones, CRAs, that type of thing, the loan programs, the community support that they do when they're out in the community, working with first ring suburban communities, et cetera, the Office of Innovation and Creativity, and also the implementation of the new small business office. So that would all be included in the scope of service on this contract.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing on the scope of service I noticed on this, I'm with item number 6 in the scope of services contract. And I had asked about this, if this is included in all of our contracts, because I know we've had some situations where we came back and, in my mind, paid out things that we were not liable to pay. My understanding from my time in the Department of Development for the state, usually there's cookie cutter language that says that when we do a contract with someone, I don't care if could be Alloy, it could be Port Authority, whoever, that we have an indemnification clause in there, which basically holds us harmless if they were to subcontract or someone were to sue them. And I noticed it's in this contract, which I think is great. But is this boilerplate? Because I thought I know we're part of the Ohio Revised Code, et cetera. And usually when you do work for the government, no matter who you are, it's in there. I saw it in this. I haven't seen it in all other contracts. Is this boilerplate language that we'll be using from now on? It's item number 6. They must have insurance. They must hold us harmless. They must indemnify us. Because I haven't seen that in contracts, say with Port Authority or other, and even with 3CDC. If they're going to do the convention district and hotel, we need some hold harmless instead of us coming back having to pay should they get sued by someone else. So I think it's good it's in here. I'm just wondering, I know you don't do all the contracts. This is just maybe one of them, but I'd like to see this in all of them, including, no matter who you are.
Yeah, Mark, do you want to touch on that just briefly?
I can touch on part of that. Mark Von Allman, Senior Policy Manager on Economic Development. I was just going to mention that this language, from my understanding, working with the prosecutor's office, is relatively boilerplate language that we've included in this agreement. There was some updates as far as our insurance language that we also worked with risk management on. Put that in here, changes based from the last contract that was brought before you in 2018. But the indemnification language in here is, from my understanding, nothing terribly specific for this contract, but instead boilerplate language that the prosecutor's office probably looks to build in when applicable. So they inserted into this agreement.
Okay. I just asked the administrator, I haven't seen the contract on the convention district. I know we have an existing contract with Port Authority and other people, and they're not the only ones. I like to see one set of rules. I like to see it in all of it because I don't want, we get a lot of people to do stuff on our behalf, and they may have a subcontractor or somebody who wants to sue. And I don't want to have what we're paying for it, the taxpayers. That's the reason that we kind of use other people. So this is good. I'm saying it's good. Item number 5, I'm asking that it be, this language be in the contracts, not just selectively, but, especially the ones that's doing the big stuff. I mean, this is a small, not small, but relatively small contract. But the big ones, I don't see where they're holding the taxpayers harmless. We're held on the hook. They're in charge making decisions. And then when it's time to get sued, all of a sudden it's our responsibility to pay your legal fees. So I'd like to see this type of language. I thought it was law that it had to be in all the language for government contracts, but I would like to see it in all of our contracts.
We'll check on
This
all
is
of them and
great.
get back to the board, but yes, as Mark said, it was definitely in this one. So we'll get back to the board on the other contracts referenced as well.
Thank you. Great job on that. Item number 8, I had a comment on, Madam President. This is our Arpa plan that was presented and input from the community. This is the final, I want to make sure this is the final piece.
This is the final piece, and this reflects all of the changes that we made to increase affordable housing, also to reallocate dollars for direct services related to youth mental health, teen suicide. We had pulled out the marketing program for mental health stigma so that we could put the dollars towards more direct services. This also takes into account a change per some of the public comments that were made over the past couple of weeks, which was intended this way to begin with, but we made it much more clear that for the portion of the ARPA plan that deals with workforce coordination, we heard some comments from some of the public about why there was a specific entity referenced in the report, and that was always intended to be bid. So we've just made it much more clear that for that workforce coordinating entity, that would be subject to competitive procurement. So those are the main changes within the ARPA plan.
And then I believe there was some concern of some people being left out. AFL-CIO came in, presented. Did your office reach out to them or?
So I've had some discussions on that, didn't reach out directly to them, but as was indicated and we've gotten back to the board on, there was labor present at the stakeholder sessions when we did hold those sessions over that 4-month period. But I believe the main concern was the indication of a specific entity to coordinate workforce funding moving forward. And so we did respond to that by making sure that would be subject to a competitive procurement process, that there was not one entity listed and designated for that.
And as we put out the competitive bid, will we make sure that list they're inclusive in that list?
Absolutely.
So that they don't, okay, great. And then all the other things that we had already pre-approved those are already passed, or are they included in this document?
I'm sorry, Madam Vice President, could you repeat?
All the other things, we had passed some things for the ARPA dollars, what I call the right now.
Yeah,
programs
this would
versus
subsume all of that as well, correct?
Okay. Yeah, this is great. I just would ask, Madam President, because we got a lot that we have here, and I know we say first quarter, second quarter, if we could get at some point a timeline on each of them, like, because we don't kind of went back and forth, we moved some things around, we made some changes based on feedback that we got. We could get a final timeline of these, because all of them won't be this year, some might be next year, what have you. So we kind of, each of our offices have a timeline. If someone were to call, we can go right to the timeline and say, no, that's not 22, that's 23, or something of that magnitude.
Absolutely. And I know I was discussing yesterday with Assistant Administrator Chrisman that she is, in fact, right now working with her staff to put together that schedule. So we'll get that out to the board here quickly. So you just have that as stakeholders call and question you about when certain programs are going to launch. You can be very direct in terms of what the plan is.
Then my last question is about the Findlay Market. I understand we met the threshold now to get moving, but then there were 2 things on here. It was like a Findlay Market, and then item number 7. Is that just the item number 7 has law enforcement assistant diversion personnel, but then also has Findlay Market garage construction costs. So is that just to get the purchase order?
Yeah, one's the contract, one is the budget adjustment. But Phil is here if there's any specific questions about the contract.
Okay, and then is this, what, do we have a total budget for the garage?
Yes, we do. Phil Beck, Hamilton County Construction Executive. Yes, our hard costs for the garage, which this is part of, are in the magnitude of $24.5 million. And as you know, this was a rebid. We bid the first time. The prices came in over our engineer's estimate for similar reasons that MSD just quoted on their sewer projects. It has Commissioner Dreehouse stated before, it's across the board. It's hitting all aspects of the county. So yeah, so we are within that budget, and this rebid project was actually under our engineer's estimate. We received 2 bids, and they, as you can see, the magnitude 10.6 million. The 2 bids were $28,000 apart. So we know it's on the money.
And what you said, that I know you had mentioned the hard costs. Now, the soft costs, is that your architect, design, et cetera? I was just trying to get, what is the total cost? Or you could get-
Total that we're looking at, including property purchase, because
Everything that goes with
property
it.
was 2.2.
Okay,
So we are in the magnitude 29 million.
29 million, okay.
Yeah, all in.
Okay.
Hard, soft, property, everything. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes, thank you. I was going to call out also items 6 and 7, not so much to ask questions, but to recognize that we're moving forward with Finley Market Garage. And thankful that we have bids now that we can move forward with. So glad to see that's moving. There are many, many people wondering and waiting about the Finley Market Garage. So this is good news. And then I too was going to talk about item number 8. You know, this one, it's such a big deal. We've been dealing with it for so long that it's in front of us on the consent agenda. But this is a huge, huge item for us. We've had a huge inclusive stakeholder process that we ran to get ideas and to get input about how we can invest the American Rescue Plan dollars from the federal government. And by the way, I do feel compelled to give a big shout out to the federal government, because without these dollars coming in, we wouldn't have the opportunity to do any of this investment. But we were very careful about this money. We wanted to make transformational change in the community. And so we are now poised to approve of this item with all the input from the 3 of us and the community and the stakeholders to come up with a really important and transformational plan for the different buckets that we identified as our priorities, those primarily being mental health, housing, youth development, workforce. So I think it's a really important plan. I think it's an important investment by this board. This is probably the last opportunity we're going to have to invest federal dollars into as a response to COVID-19. And so I think we have done this in a really thoughtful way. I want to applaud the administration, particularly Jeff Aludo and Holly Chrisman, for all their work on this. But I really was proud of the process, and I'm proud of the result as well. So thank you to all that participated. And hopefully this money will soon roll out and start this transformational change that it's intended to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll digress and have some discussion on these issues. Since we're discussing them, I was going to wait and maybe talk in private about some of them, but I will go to also to item 8, our American Rescue Plan, which we're finally passing. And there was much discussion, much inclusion. We left no stone unturned as it relates to what areas we want to have impact. So I'm also very excited about that. JFS, I just really need to say it. Items 9, 10, and 11, we're continuing to take care of our youth and adult protective services. For family preservation, item 9, $200,000. Item 10, adult protective services along with psychological assessment, $75,000. And item 11 is residential treatment services for our youth, $165,000. In addition, under the sheriff department, and I'm sure it's in our resolution, Jeff, but when I added up the amount of credit cards that we're approving, it was $260,400 for individual credit cards that could be used by the sheriff department through different banks. And I am assuming, and I don't want to do that, that those credit cards can be used for gas and what other things?
Typically travel,
Travel.
training, gasoline, some supplies, et cetera, is typically what those are used for.
This amount is $260,000. Is that what we normally do, or how does that relate to what we?
I can check it with
Yeah, there you
past years, but I don't think this is any different for given the size of that office and the number of divisions. This is I believe this is consistent with what we've done in the past, but I can check on that.
And so the use of the cards would be done by sergeants, lieutenants, the sheriff herself? I mean, not line.
This would be,
sheriff-
throughout the department. So,
Line sheriffs would also have the card because they're driving the cars to get the gas.
yeah, so typically these would be on a division basis. So I'm not sure exactly how they do it over there, but like over here, we have a card, and if that's needed for travel or training or whatever, someone can access that card for that purpose.
Okay, very good. My only last comment is item 18, we're reporting, the sheriff department is reporting no objection to 8 liquor permit applications. I don't know, maybe it's me, but we've been having more liquor applications than I'm used to having, which I understand that when you have liquor in your establishment, you can of course make more money, but we need to just kind of keep a gauge on. I know as far as the sheriff department, if there's no criminal activity, there's been no calls, things like that, liquor license can be approved, but we also want to make sure they have to look at how close it is to a school and things like that. So I just want to make sure that we're, not us, but the sheriff department, of course, is paying attention to the number of applications and where they're actually located. We used to have, I know, in Forest Park, we used to have a map, it's smaller, of course, of where these entities are. And I'm not sure if the sheriff might have something like that or not, or maybe the liquor license board in Columbus, we might could find out, but we've been getting a lot of applications for liquor permits. So that way in my comments. Did you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just going back to item number 8. I just also want to highlight, there's a lot of talk about affordable housing. And we as a board, as a county, we're leading in terms of investment. And I just don't want that to be taken lightly, because that is a major crisis. So $40 million is no chump change. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I also want to thank the administration, Jeff and his team, for articulating and being able to hear from the people, and our board be able to hear what we have heard from the people and we have put forward. But I also think this can be transformational for our county. Most people are going to find out what happened after COVID, even though we're still fighting it. But it's almost a reset button for counties and cities, villages, townships across the United States. And so we want to be able, as we come out of this, we have been transformational in the things that we have invested in. We've come out with a mobile bus that will be ongoing to help people in a variety of health ways, as well as economic ways. As well, we have a variety as it relates to affordable housing for people with disabilities, reentry, senior citizens, and everyday working people, as well as helping with those who are homeless. So I just wanted to make sure that is highlighted among other things that we are delivering. Washington, we very much appreciate. We have done better than most counties around the United States. Many, even in Ohio, were unable to spend their money. They didn't know how to get it out. They couldn't get it to the people. It was bottled up. Our county has done, I think, a remarkable job from our board all the way to the staff of getting the help to the people. So as Washington released the money, which we greatly appreciate, first time in history that Washington bailed out the American people directly and not through they usually do it through an industry, the banking industry or the automotive industry. They went directly to the people. But just like with Amazon, you can make an order, but if the order never shows up, you never got the package. And we have been the delivery system to get the package, the direct service directly to the people. So want to thank all of our staff, and through the leadership of our administrator, as well as this board, on getting delivery. Now, we haven't been able to help everybody. We still are working. We still want to improve. But we, I think, have been a model for a lot of people in the country on how to do it right and do it correctly and help the people. So thank you.
Thank you. I agree.
Madam President?
Yes.
If I could just, on the consent agenda, just two quick items I just wanted to acknowledge. Number one, the board had mentioned a couple of times the item number 5, which is the agreement with Alloy Development Company. I know Catherine Fitzgerald is here. Catherine, not asking you to come forward, but just in absentia, I know that typically we also have Harry Blanton here with us. And I just wanted to acknowledge to the board that I believe today, although he's not here, but today Harry Blanton is celebrating his 30th year at Alloy, formerly HCDC, now Alloy Development Company. 30 years, one organization doing economic development on behalf of the community, a great thing. So I just wanted to congratulate Harry. I doubt that he's listening in, but if he is, just
Kevin's been alive.
just almost as long, that's right, almost as long as Kevin and I have been alive, right? So, yeah. And secondly, I can't see around the pillar, so I'm sorry if she may have left, but I did just want to note the fact that I believe it is one of our items on here related to our community development action plan. And I believe Maria Collins was here. If she's not, she's still here. Okay. And I believe this would have been the first time that Maria would have been formally at one of our meetings. I just wanted to acknowledge her. So even though I can't see you, Maria, welcome to the meeting, and glad that Maria is on board leading our community development staff. So thank you, commissioners.
Thank you so much for those comments. With all that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 4 through 18.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank you.